Hi everyone, this is Varun Gumiti and you're listening to the Stars and Startups podcast. I'm back again with more illuminating stories from the world of entrepreneurship and startups. This is probably the episode you've been waiting for. I'm super excited to speak with Nithin Kamath, the CEO and co-founder of discount stockbroking platform Zerodha. The scale and profit numbers for a bootstrap company is truly mind-boggling. More recently, they've been in the news for being a bootstrap unicorn and also for making some very interesting investments as part of the RainMatter initiative. Truly enjoyed doing this episode and hope you enjoy it as much as I did. Before we get started, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and share with friends as well. Okay, let's say hi to Nithin. You know, there are so many unconventional stories about Zerodha right now, right? But you're an avid poker player. You're a CEO of a company who still interacts with the customers with your blog, and you keep in touch with that. You've also kind of gotten into investing more recently. There's a lot of very interesting things going on, and I want to dig very deep into a lot of these pieces. But we have limited time, so I'm trying to get to a lot of these things. But first, you were a trader when you were 17 years old, right? Well, firstly, welcome Nithin to the show. We've kind of got it, got it chatting, but you started when you were 17 years old, and when I was 17 years old, my dad gave me 50 rupees to buy whatever I wanted. That was my pocket money for the week, right?
Right.
You were trading with the money I was buying pani puri with. You were trading and making money on the stock market. Well, how did you start? Where did this capital come from?
So, I used to live in this neighborhood where there used to be a lot of these Marwadi friends of Marwadi people, and Marwadis generally get into business quite early in life. So a lot of these 20, 18, 19, the person's already doing business. So some of these guys were also doing trading stocks. So, and I got introduced to it, and it was not like a lot of money, So I used to, there were 500 rupees, like that, like you're trading very small amounts of money. Why did it start? I mean, it was just lure of quick money. That's essentially what gets a lot of people attracted to the stock markets, and that was what attracted me as well. And and the way I used to trade back then is almost close to gambling, in the sense, you go day trade, like so you're trying to call a stock that'll go up or down in a day. So but then I think starting early kind of just gave me so much more time to just figure the intricacies of this business. And the business back in the late 90s was very different to how it is today. It was mostly offline. There wasn't really digital platform. So if I had to trade, I had to go to someone's office, sit there, look at someone else's computer, and ask him to buy or sell. So that kind of transition and evolved very fast. I think 2001 is when ICICI Direct launched with their online platform. 2001. So that's when I moved from trading offline to trading online. And there used to be this SIFI centers. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah. So of course, the cyber cafes.
Cyber cafes. I used to go and sit in those cyber cafes, and it used to be quite expensive. So your cost of doing trading was just not the cost of your P&L, but you had to cover for the cost of sitting and trading the markets. Right? And in between, you used to have disconnections, and in the stock markets, things move up and down quite fast. Right now, imagine you are in a trade and suddenly you are disconnected. Right, as in you, and then you are disconnected for like half an hour and stuff like that. So yeah, but it was fun. It was it kind of the best thing about stock markets is that it teaches you the value of money and money risk management and etc. Because the only way to survive trading the stock markets is through risk management. A lot of people keep focusing on what is the strategy to make money, which is when should I buy, when should I sell. When you buy, when you sell is actually the least important of the things. Right? The most important thing is actually how do you just manage money, because when you buy, when you sell is completely out of your control, the outcome on that. Right? The only thing which is in your control is just what do you do if it goes right, or what do you do when it goes wrong, right? And that learning is something that trading the markets has, I think, taught me personally. I mean, it's taught me after a lot of going busts in life. It wasn't like an easy lesson, So, so it's probably 10, 15 years of doing stupidity, and then
Yeah.
you eventually learn learn the lesson. So.
Well, so you've compared trading and business to poker, right? You kind of drawn the parallel. Which came first? You start learning poker first, or was it trading that helped you get better at business?
No. I think it was trading. I mean, from the time I was 17 till around. So what happened was, around 2005, I found this first customer who saw, that I was doing okay trading the market. So he cut me a check, and he said, Nithin, why don't you do this for me as well? So that's where the business side started, 2005-6. And I started managing money, and then by then my younger brother had joined me, and he was a much better trader than I was. So then we said, what's the point of two people trading? So you continue trading, and maybe I can give a shot at building a broking business that we didn't have as traders. That's how Zerodha started. And all my real business lessons has started after Zerodha. But in between, I had worked in a call center for 3.5 years, between 2001 to 2005, 3.5, 4 years, because I had blown up and I had to go put my trading capital back. So to earn that, I joined a call center. And
so this is the first time you lost money on the stock market.
Yeah. So 2001, is when I went bust. And when I went bust with a lot of credit outstanding. So which meant it wasn't. So I had to go earn, and so I joined the call center because
how deep was the
call center was.
How deep was the hole?
No, in today's context, nothing at all. But in that day's context, it was quite deep, Because I remember my first job was some 12,000 rupees a month, and I had to earn 2 years to pay back that hole, So it was quite a big hole,
No, but you were probably like 19 when you graduated college, 19, 20.
No, the thing is, I went to a college. I mean, I don't really like to talk about, I don't think I ever actually, I still remember, I think in my 4th or 5th semester of engineering, my HOD calls my mom up and says, "But your son's got a psychological problem," so, because I was never seen in college, and people knew that I used to trade the markets. So there was, but around 2001 is when I was, finishing my college, and so around 2021, that's when I went bust, and then I worked in that call center for like 3.5, 4 years, and so a lot of life lessons were learned in the call center as well, because I used to sell on the phone to these Americans, right? So you used to sell. And the call center I was working in was again a very shady kind of a call center. So the processes weren't very clean in the sense, so there was a lot of hustle.
Selling security software, calling people.
No, it's actually selling mobile phones and credit cards to people who had bad credit. Right. So the thing is, in the US, to buy a mobile phone, also you need good credit. Otherwise, no one sells you, right? So, this whole process was selling stuff to people with bad credit, and somehow, it was quite a hustle. But I think, my English, my typing speed, my just ability to be able to sell on the phone, all of that, I think, because I think selling is very key to running a business, right? As in, it's a core skill set you need to have, and that whole 3-4 years of selling on the phone, I think, is also very important in this journey. So I'd say trading, working in the call center, selling. I did multi-level marketing for 2-3 years, when I was trading. So so there was a lot of selling then as well. And then this whole, we became like a franchisee of a bigger brokerage firm back in 2005. So all of that. Poker is actually very new. Poker is the last 4-5 years. Now, what happened was, when Zerodha started, I stopped trading completely. I do it to test our platform, because Nikhil takes care of all the trading, etc. So I stopped trading. Now the thing is, once you've traded the markets, right, you miss the dopamine, adrenaline, whatever rush you can call. which trading the stock markets on a daily basis gives you. So I think for me the poker game is more about that. It's just that just trade. It's almost like trading. So I think it's all very similar. Trading, poker, business is about how you manage your risk, right? As in,
have you been a risk taker? Have you always been a risk taker? Like,
yeah. I mean, whatever. Like from the time I decided to do my first trade, and I think risk taking is like, I think it's almost. I'm from a Brahmin family. As in, I'm probably the first real businessman in the family. So I don't know how those things came in the genes, but yeah. So I think the risk taking is something I like. But what I've realized is I've started liking it even more once I've realized the importance of money management, because a lot of people try to keep hitting out of the park every time. Right? I mean, like, that's how you're sold in the movies, right? Saying this guy took 1,000 rupees, made it a crore rupees, and suddenly overnight became this rich guy, right? As in, that shit doesn't work in real life, So, like, in real life, you have to grind, and the way to grind is to know that every bet you take, you can potentially lose everything in that bet. Right? And so you need to make sure you can take multiple bets. So even if you were to go wrong and say 4 or 5 bets continuously, it doesn't blow up your account. So so that's something that I've completely I think my whole risk taking, I started enjoying it even more after kind of realizing that's how you're supposed to play this all. And for the last 10 years of this journey, personal journey, I think I've enjoyed it a lot more because of that. Just a risk taking piece.
So I know one bust, which was, when you were just leaving college and then you had to join the call center to pay it back. What was the second time? Because I know the third time you made a lot of money, which was the seed capital for
Zerodha. Right. No. So before the 2001 thing, before that, I had a mini bust where I was trading. I had borrowed some money and was trading, and and then I got lucky that I started trading again and made up for the capital. Even when I was in the call center, there was, I think, after 6 months or 8 months of saving up some money to trade, I kind of blew it all up, like a 3-4 day thing. But generally, I think after 2003-4, I haven't really, I don't think there have been times where there was never going under, in the sense I've gone close to zero, but I haven't gone, below zero as such. But 2006-7 onwards is where all this realization, I guess the realization in life happened about how risk management is more important than anything else in life. And from that time, my conscious thing has always been that I will take a bet only if I'm okay with losing it all. In a sense, I wouldn't take a bet if I have to be worried about it. Even Zerodha was almost like an all-in. When for people who look at it from outside, a lot of people think it was like an all-in bet. Where you took all the things that you had and just put it on this business. How could you do it if you think that you shouldn't put everything into one single bet? I mean, the thing, when we started Zerodha, right, the whole idea was, so we were a sub broker or a franchisee for Reliance Money, Reliance Securities, and we were paying them a lot of brokerage, because when you're a franchisee, when your clients trade, the owner takes whatever little money and then he gives little money back to the franchisee.
Right.
So when he started this business, the bet was that we're going to move this business from Reliance Securities to here. So even if you don't build a retail broking business, this will cover for the cost of becoming a stockbroker in India. Right? And also the other bet was that if say 1 or 2 years into the business and we are not able to get customers, I go get back to trading. I join Nikhil and start trading.
Okay.
So it wasn't like a.
So you had a fallback.
There was a plan B. I think that plan B started, like I said, right. And from the time there was a plan B is when I think I personally trended up in my life, right? Because when there is no plan B and there's only plan A, right? I realized that you end up doing a lot of stupid, take a lot of stupid decisions, because you're like, there is probably a physiological reasoning behind it. Is that when you're stressed, your brains don't work as well, right? And you end up taking irrational decisions. And
But is that the thought process where you're saying, you know what, there's no other option? Like if there's no fallback, and the fallback could be that okay, I don't have a solid job paying me multiple lakhs a month, right?
Right.
Um, but at least I'll have a job for say a couple of lakhs a month, right?
Right. Right.
So if you're okay with that, you're saying you could make other bets, right? You're saying, okay, if I'm okay to come out of this comfort zone, can I do other things that will get me ahead? So for people who probably lost their jobs right now, etc., that could be a great mindset to have, right? How would you kind of frame that?
Right. No, no. I think. Yeah. So the thing is, if you want to win in life, you have to take bets, right? As in, you cannot not take a bet and somehow expect to win, right? I mean, that shit's not gonna happen too, right? As in, right. So if people who have salaries and thinking about starting up, etc. So I think the firstly, like I typically I get this question quite a bit, saying I intend to start up. Should I start up, not start up, etc. And uh, so so I personally think, before you build a business, you have to build your core competencies. I mean, you don't go to say Olympics and try to run a 400 meters without preparing for it, right? I mean, then how does someone expect to just wake up one day and decide to open a business and then compete with someone who's been doing this for like ages, right? As it I mean, of course, it can work, and there is luck which hits people once in a while, but majority of times it doesn't. So if it's people looking to uh, you know uh, startup, etc., I think personally, I think first build core competencies before you think of doing that business. And then this business, I think the edge at the end of the day is how passionate you are. I mean, if you were to take 3 or 4 promoters, founders of companies, and you had to bet on someone who's going to win, I think it's going to boil down to which of these founders is stupidly passionate about it, right? Because eventually that is what kind of play out, right? So you need to be stupidly passionate about the problem that you're trying to solve as a business, right? If you aren't either of these, I mean, if these things don't take off, I think you shouldn't even bother about starting a business, because it's a really risky venture, and potentially there's a lot of opportunity cost also that you miss out. It's just not the money you put in or time, because the time you put in, you potentially are, you lose opportunities that would have otherwise come in that time. For people who have lost job currently, I think there is no better time to upskill yourself than now, right? Right, as in a lot of some of the smartest founders that I know who are running businesses who are not businesses that are not doing well right now, is they're just sitting and building the product out. They're saying, dude, you know what, doesn't you need to just make the best use of any opportunity that comes in life, right? So I think if there's someone's lost a job right now, I don't think it should be to think about, I want to do business because I lost a job, unless you have a passionate idea that you want to go after. I think the right thing to do right now is just sit and upskill yourself. Read as much, learn as many things about whatever you love doing. So because I think the demand for such skilled people in this country is going to go up significantly in the future, because this whole COVID has just opened up, this whole opportunity for higher skilled people to get noticed. Because what used to happen, right, when everyone used to work in offices, it was very inefficient. Like today, I know today who are the best guys on my sales. I mean, I've always known it just by looking at sales numbers, right? But sales numbers isn't always the right metric to say, is he the best guy, right? So what has happened now is, because of all of this, we had to build process to say, does he sell well? Does he, all like, it's just the world has just gotten so efficient around us that good folks will get spotted and get hired or get promoted, and all of that will happen much faster. So I think for everyone, the if someone's lost a job right now or sitting at home has got more time for themselves, I think it's just upskilling, like the way you said right now, right? As in, you're using this opportunity to do, try out podcasts, and I think everyone should find something like that and just improve on it.
Do you suggest them to trade? Because I've been reading some crazy numbers what some of the Americans are doing. Right, they've just got themselves Robinhood accounts. Uh,
Right.
watching TikTok videos for trading, and they're literally going crazy. The American stock market is literally like jumped a few, notches. With all the stocks, it has gone on a complete bull run. What's your take on this whole TikTok craze with on financial news and investing?
Trading. See, the thing is, a lot of people think trading is an easy way of making money, right? Which is what is attracting people to it. And there's generally a lot of uncertainty, right? As in, people who have jobs are uncertain about their future. People who have kept money in the banks are not getting enough yields on that money. Your real estate investments are not going up. Nothing is. Actually speaking, your money is not making a buck today, right? As in, so there's a lot of uncertainty, and a lot of people are looking at where is that place where I can make a little more money, or and stuff like that. So a lot of people, automatically you get attracted to stock markets because, and especially in a time when stock markets have done okay, right? Should people look at trading? Trading is almost like running a business. Okay, as in, it's exactly the same. So it's just that starting a business, the entry barrier is quite high. You need to register a company, hire people, blah 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 blah. But in trading, you can just open an account with us in 2 minutes and you're set, right? So automatically, everyone takes the path of least resistance, which is, because trading is easy, and it almost feels like there's an opportunity for you to make money easier. You look at it, but honestly speaking, I think trading is the toughest place in the world to make easy money, because
you need to have thick skin too.
Huh?
You need to have thick skin too. Like you said, you need to be okay with losing money, and that's sometimes very hard for somebody, right? Because they feel like when it's positive, they're like, okay, great, I made about 5%, 7%, etc. But the moment it starts going into a negative number, even if it's one negative, you're like, oh man, you feel so bad about it. You feel like you've done something wrong.
No, see, when I was just telling you, right, why should someone decide to start a business, right? One, you need to be stupidly passionate about that business idea. That applies to, and you need to have great risk management skills. Now, you need to know how to manage your money well, right? That's the exact skill set that's required to trade the markets, right? Which is, firstly, you need to be stupidly passionate about it. Quick money shouldn't be the reason why you get attracted to stock markets. And the problem is, most people get attracted to markets because of its lure of quick money, and it isn't really the fact that they enjoy trading or they enjoy the act of picking up stocks, etc. Right? So, and second thing is, this trading is mostly about, like what you just said, which is mostly about risk management. It isn't about when exactly you will buy a stock or when exactly you will sell a stock, because that shit is, no one can control that, right? Like someone has said, right, as in, you can no point thinking about what is not in your control. You just need to focus on what is, and what is in control when you are trading the market is risk management, right? So that's one thing that we've been trying to teach people through all these blogs and all this education material, but we have realized that people don't, there's just so much distraction in today's world, so people don't have that bandwidth to say, if I were to give a book's name and say, read Market Wizards before you trade, out of 100 people, maybe one person will read it, right? So
what if you could put TikTok videos that would
but
crash course?
If life was that easy, if I could teach someone trading using TikTok videos, we would have done it by now. Right? Trading is complex. It is. It isn't something that you can just pick off a 1 minute video. It isn't. You'll probably need like a 10,000 TikTok videos to be able to figure the markets. So I don't know if a stockbroker would say this, but I think if someone's looking at stock markets to make quick buck, I don't think you should even look at it, because because stock markets, the thing about trading is that it's almost like a big black hole. You can lose unlimited amounts of money. Like, if you were to ask me to lose unlimited amounts of money, I don't know how many businesses I can do where I can lose unlimited amount of money. But trading, very simple.
Sure,
you give me $1 billion.
Sure shot way to do it.
Yeah, you give me $1 billion and say, Nithin, lose this money in 1 month, I can lose it for you. So because yeah, trading is quite tough. So I think if someone's looking at trading, I think the right way to play this is understand firstly that it's extremely tough. So make sure you don't put more than 5 to 10% of your liquidity into it. Right? I mean, trading is the best thing I've done in my life.
We're saying that this is not investing. This is not long-term investing. We're talking about specifically trading, which is tough.
I'm talking about active trading.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. So if you want to invest in the market, which is a different beast altogether, and you should totally do that. Do your homework. Go and make investments. Buy a HDFC Bank stock. Keep it for a long time. You're sorted.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, that's a different thing. I mean, the thing is, when you invest, it's not a zero-sum game, right? As in, all of us could invest in one listed company and make money together, right? As the stocks go up. Right? That's a different piece. No, when I'm talking trading, I'm talking about people who are trading using futures and options, or people who are doing intraday trades, right? Or even when you're investing for like 1 day, 2 day, right? That business is not a zero-sum game. And in that business, the money drifts towards a better person because it's. Sorry, that business is a zero-sum game. That means if you lose, I make. So it doesn't go out anywhere, right? So it's. So in that kind of a business, for example, say if I love basketball, I've been playing it forever, and you start today, and tomorrow we have a match, right? It's a no-brainer. I mean, you might, its chance of you winning is very, very, very less. So it's so I think that's what people need to realize, that trading is like almost like playing a sport, running a business. You need to work on yourself. It takes time, before you can make a buck out of this. So make sure that when you start on day one, you start with as little as possible. Put as little money as possible, because you need to think of it as almost like it's a tuition fees that you're paying. Before you got your job, you went to a college, you learned something, right? And you didn't put like 20 years of your potential earnings into that college fees, right? You put a small amount of that money, right? And so you need to look trading at trading also the same way. See that right now the thing is, most people who are coming to the markets are coming to trade. They are not really coming with the intention to buy a HDFC Bank and invest in it for 20 years. The reason I'm talking so much about trading is because the folks who are looking at markets right now are the ones who are looking at making an alternate source of income. Yeah, can I make 10,000 rupees a month, 20,000 rupees a month? Will cover my some costs, and people are So.
Nithin, want to switch gears a little bit and talk about your company Zerodha, which you're the CEO of, and the last few months there's been a lot of chatter about being a bootstrap unicorn, and all these new words and mythical beasts coming out of the woodwork. Now, when you started out, and as a business that's enabling other people to invest, and you make a little bit of money on each transaction, etc., I realized that you've had a very frugal mindset because you don't have external money, and like you said, there's no money to burn, and you've kept this running for a long time, and now it is compounded. And I think at least in public, last year's numbers were 350 crores in profit that you guys generated. What was some of the key pillars of making this happen? And has that changed over time?
Right. No, I think the first learning here is that you can't really make it happen. So in the sense, there is there's a lot of right place, right time. So you need to firstly understand that life is mostly random, and you can't really make stuff happen. So you can just probably follow a kind of a right mindset, right process, and then hope that luck plays along. And because you can't really bend those rules as such. I think a lot of people think somehow if I work 20 hours a day, in 20 days, somehow business will suddenly become better. I mean, of course, by working 20 hours, you put yourself in a better situation for that to happen. But you still need some of these moving pieces in this world to come align rightly for you, right? I think like if I look back, I think what has been some of those things that we have accidentally done, right? I have not, there's nothing that was done intentionally. Because I mean, I don't want to be saying here that somehow there's this business plan that we followed through the last 9 years and suddenly all of these things worked well for us. I think the first thing was we decided to start a business where we had a lot of core competency in. Right? It was not, and I had done traded for like 12, 13 years before Zerodha happened. So if you look at Zerodha, it's not a 10-year-old business. It's actually a 23-year-old business, because the day I started trading is when I started putting in those seeds for this to evolve of sorts, right? And secondly, I think what we did was like even before Zerodha this was happening, was that we've constantly done things to give back to our customers without even any expectation in mind. And what I mean to say is that even before Zerodha, I used to run some of the largest communities in this country around trading. So I used to have the largest Yahoo Messenger group. I used to have the largest Orkut community and all of that. Where I used to be extremely active on a lot of these platforms. In a lot of these places with a pseudonym. Because back in the day, I was a sub broker. I didn't want to look like I'm aligned to a certain brokerage, so I used to have call myself something else, and I used to do this. But a lot of these interactions was not again done with no expectation. There was no SEO. I'm not doing it because I'm trying to capture a lead, or I'm not trying to somehow do SEO for the business and etc. So that continued with Zerodha as well. So as and when we started doing Zerodha, right, as in we started building Zerodha, constantly, all the time, we've always done what is right for the customer, and eventually people started appreciating, recognizing that what, this company cares for its customers, right? And it didn't happen overnight, right? As in, the thing is, the first 5 years of a business, we were at 65,000 customers, right? And so it wasn't like a like a joyride. It was tough, but I think the reason we could kind of sustain all of that without raising external capital was because we started small, and we never chased growth. In the sense, I never started a year with a number of customers in my mind. In the sense, I mean, this is probably absolutely opposite to what a traditional. If you go to a business school, they'll probably tell you to do exactly the opposite, which is put a number and kind of drive your business to get there. But what I want to hint at is that businesses can be built in multiple ways. It need not always be that what is thought, or what say someone else, some big businessman did. You don't have to cut copy paste. I don't even think what we did should be cut copy pasted by anyone. Right? But I think like I said, right, so caring for your customers, and then I think what we did really well, again, which is not planned, was just to take care of people who work in the business very well, right? Until date, we haven't really had people quit our tech team, for example, right? And that's such a big advantage to have, right? As in, like imagine like a tech team that's stuck together for like 6 years, and just imagine how each of the guys is such an expert in what he's doing after doing it for 5-6 years, and they're not in it because we've never hired anyone with the promise of stock options, or we have never hired. So this wasn't. I mean, today they're all bearing the fruit the same way I've benefited. Everyone else in the business are going to benefit. That we've all been together in building this business, but so I think that's something that we've done, is that constantly care for your people who are working with you as your family, and it isn't always about just giving the most money, right? As in, a lot of people think just by giving away money you're gonna somehow come across like you're taking care of your so it is just money doesn't work. You just have to so I mean all of these things, and then I think these 2-3 things, and the thing about not being bootstrapped, I mean not raising funds, which gave us the flexibility, was to experiment, right? Which becomes very tough when you have external capital, right? Which is continuously keep experimenting with your products. I don't know how many products we have launched, how many initiatives we have launched. I mean, and it doesn't work, we stop it. So it's
Any interesting things that didn't really play out the way you wanted to? Well, actually, on the experimentation side, I want to ask you what changed from 65,000 users to now over 1.3 million, 1.5 million
we're 3 million,
customers?
3 million, yeah,
Okay.
we're 3 million customers, yeah. So
Okay.
okay, so the thing is,
So in
firstly,
5 years, you went from 65K to 3 million users in less than 5 years. And I think a lot of that growth has also happened in the last couple of years where you've doubled.
yeah,
Am I right?
more than double. I mean, like January we were 2 million, so now we are 3 million. So like we added 1 million customers just this year. So which took us like almost 8 years, in the first 8 years to 7.5 years to get to. So no, I think the first few years of so I don't come with more tech background. Okay, as in there's the only tech I've done, I keep joking about it, is Excel. I can add numbers on an Excel sheet. So when we started the business, it was all built on top of vendor platforms, right? And so when we started the business, the USP was that we are low cost, we are transparent, we are these folks who come and share and educate, and platform was never the play, right? By 2012-13, we had the first competitor who was kind of saying the same story, and that's when it kind of realized that you have to kind of build that product advantage. And Kailash, who heads our tech, he joined us in 2013, and he's we are like supremely, extremely lucky to find him, because he's one of the best tech folks that I not just tech, I think generally one of the best brains that I've come across. And around him is when we started building the product. And 2015 is when we launched Kite, which is our web-based platform, which was an in-house product, right? It was not a vendor product. So now you had a product which was different. And in 2015 December, we did this like almost like a weekend thing of going zero brokerage for equity investing. We used to charge a brokerage fees for equity investors, but we were getting labeled as a broker for very active traders and not for equity investors. And we wanted to change the image of the business, and we said, dude, why not just go zero brokerage for equity investing, because that business doesn't bring any risk to us. And so Kite plus zero brokerage, December 2015, it just gave us virality for the first time. And in 2017, when Demon happened, what happened was, one of the big challenge for the business was onboarding a customer, right? If you want to open an account, you have to sign a 30-40 page document and all of that, right? And
I still remember I used to open HDFC Securities Limited accounts, and you'd have like 40 signatures, because I used to work at a bank at that time, so I had to go and collect the signatures from our customers. I think there was 400 signatures, and each signature has to be the same.
Yeah, I mean, all the stupidity used to happen. And thanks to Demon, what happened was people started using Aadhaar, and Aadhaar could now be used for digital onboarding, right? You could use Aadhaar for e-sign, for KYC, and etc. So once that happened is when it just opened up for us, because people could easily onboard after that. And then we've done all this. Like I said, the product itself has evolved so much in the last 5-6 years. The Kite, the version we have today is the third version of Kite. And when I say third version, it's it's like being brought completely to ground zero and rebuilt again. And if you look at some of our, like a banking competitor, I mean, they're probably still on the same platform that was available 15 years back, right? And so that's where the advantage is. The advantage today is actually on the product, and in the way we have structured the business, which kind of in financial services businesses, generally there's innovation is very tough. Why? Because there is a lot of legacy tech, firstly, and then. Right. And then secondly, the issue is there is a lot of bureaucracy. There are multiple layers and etc. So here, we're a completely flat organization. And everyone's got freedom to innovate and just do whatever is required. As in, so that's essentially what is keeping us ahead of the competition today.
Talking about keeping ahead, one of the things that I love about the Zerodha platform is it is a platform as well. Like, in the sense, there are others who actually create products and services on top of the Zerodha platform. And
Right.
I think it's also an incubator, or you just give these APIs. How does that work? And I see there are a lot of these companies, I think some of those companies have gone on to raise their own funding also.
Right.
Being a platform play, and that's super powerful. How did this come about?
So, thing is, the business that we were building right from the day one, right, was for people who had an intent to execute a trade. So, if you had an intent to execute a trade, we wanted to give you the best trading platform. If you had an intent to learn how to trade, we wanted to give you the best platform. Right? But then the realization was that caters to maybe just 1 or 2% of the population. Right? The rest 98% don't have an intent to trade or don't want to learn to trade. They want some kind of a nudge or some kind of a platform that makes it easier to discover or learn. Um, so we said, do you actually go after each of these problems and try to solve it yourself, or do you go partner with startups? Right? And the reason for this, we call the initiative as RainMatter, and the reason the RainMatter initiative took birth was because of Kite Connect APIs, right? So what our tech team did was the way they built the platform was such a way that the APIs could be used by everyone else. Kite, the web platform, was almost like a third-party app sitting on the Kite Connect, which is the core order management system for us. So because they created it such a way, we could just open it up to startups, right? With whatever little experience I had in my life, I realized that the biggest challenge in the business of money is gaining trust, right? You know, Especially when there is money involved, you don't really just trust a random brand very easily, right? And I knew that startups, in today's world, has the money, but they don't have the time to wait to get to acquire the customer. Right, so a lot of these fintech startups or startups focusing on savings and investments, it never used to last long enough to before they had enough audience on which they can survive kinds, right? So we were trying to solve all these 2-3 problems. So we said, what if we gave these APIs which kind of let startups build user experiences without having to worry about compliances, regulations, onboarding, blah blah, right? As in, say that we are anyways doing it, why bother doing it again? Second is, can it give them credibility to get their first 10,000 customers, right? Because how do you get your 10,000 customers who trust you with money, right? It's almost impossible in today's world, right? And just by advertising, you don't get it. You wouldn't, like, tomorrow you can go put a front page ad and say something, but people won't just come and trust money with a random brand, right? So we said, we'll build some brand credibility. Can we somehow give our brand name for these startups to validate their product? So when we position these startups, to our audience, we actually did it almost like it's us. Now, a lot of our customers feel today that these are not really third-party startups, third-party companies doing it. They almost feel it like it's somehow Zerodha's product itself. Right? The reason we had to do it was because that's how they trusted these products, right? And then we realized that because the capital markets in India is so shallow, it's very tough for these guys to raise money as well. Right? And we said, what, we should maybe help them with that as well. So we started cutting between like 2 to 5 crores of checks, that gets them to that point where they can potentially go raise professional money. And then, it's one of the, when we look back at this whole journey of Zerodha, one of those things that I feel extremely proud about is that it's just the fact that, we've been able to, get so many of these startups to actually be in a position. A lot of these guys are generating revenue. A lot of them are profitable today, and just knowing that we somehow are the enablers for multiple businesses to kind of build and be profitable is quite exciting. So we have around 12 investments there today, and 5 of them are core products for traders and investors in the market.
No, I think it's super impressive, the kind of startups that you guys are backed on that. I love the thought around, the credibility angle, because I think India, we keep talking about how it's a trust deficit market, and, giving them that trust. Is that a core reason why you've been able to, say, grow the audience also to 3 million users? Because now there is some trust being formed. Zerodha as a brand is out there. You don't need one of the private banks to back a trading platform to say, okay, what, I can go and do this. Are all these coming together to create kind of
Yeah,
a very
absolutely.
strong proposition? Yeah.
I mean, see, the thing is, if you were to ask me, if there was an option to do this, we would have built this business in a stealth mode. I mean, I'm not a very social person. I mean, we were forced to do press, in the sense, go out and build that, credibility by, writing articles, for the newspapers, because people assume that what comes in media is more credible than not. I mean, I don't, for good or for bad, so we did that. So, we've taken a lot of effort in building the brand credibility. And also, as the customer base grew up and they understood that, like all these things that we do to care for them, like for example, at Zerodha, there's not a single person who's got a revenue target. Okay? So what it means is that no one in our business has an incentive to missell a product to our customer, right? Which is one of the biggest problems for financial services firms. Right? As in, you walk into a bank, someone's going to sell you a mutual fund or insurance or whatever, right? As in, whatever which can make some money for the bank, right? Which most of the times aren't really the greatest of products for you as a customer. And so the fact that we would never do it, even if potentially it means more revenue for the business, is, I mean, stuff like this. These practices is, I think, has helped us kind of garner some credibility. And but what we have still realized is that still, right, our average age of our audience today is around 28 to 29 years of age. So we have not been very successful with a 45 plus kind of crowd, because while we've managed to get trust with people who don't have too much money on them, the guys who have a lot of money on them still trust the banks, because I think it's going to probably take us a lot more time before a guy who's got, say, 500 crores of stocks in his demat account will open an account with us and keep that 500 crores of stocks with us. So
But is that because they have, a lot of these money folks who have money with the bank uh, have somebody managing their account, probably giving them advice. I mean,
no,
good
no,
advice or
absolutely.
bad advice is debatable.
No, I mean, relationship managers is, you know, uh, like I've had so many conversations, where, the person suddenly says, I want to open an account with Zerodha, but I want to speak to Nithin, the CEO, because I'm worth this much. And I'm like, dude, no, who cares? I mean, like, so, but unless, we change that thought process, I don't think we'll ever be able to really cater to that crowd, because that crowd, the really rich folks are spoiled in this country, right? Because there are so few of them. And the bankers are spoiled them. They almost make them feel like their shit doesn't stink. So it's like, it's and so for them, it's not just the user experience anymore in terms of the product. It's also about having that person who's taking care of them all the time, right? We need to. I mean, we need to find a way to solve for it. If it, it's something that it's always been running in our head, because we need to cater to that crowd as well. So yeah, so it's one of those things. Credibility is extremely important in this business, and that's the reason why big banks are becoming so much more bigger, right? Because they are more credible, and people trust them more than the smaller banks. I mean, in India, smaller banks are not able to catch up. Even with a better product experience and all of that.
Uh, you mentioned a little bit about this aspect of expanding the market, and for the number of stocks that we have listed, the number of customers of users who are investing. Do you think any of this will change? Will saying better practices of audit of stocks like performing in a certain way, because the US has a lot of these friendly policies towards investors, right? Because then they're able to see exactly what's happening with the company that's listed. They're able to ask questions. Analysts are able to give you reports. Are you able to gauge, like, when some of these things would change, and that would result in expanding the market?
No, I mean, see, the thing is, if you look at the history of capital markets in India, we really opened up only in the mid 90s as a country, right? So we just have like a 20-25 year, real track record of being a stock market. I mean, US has maybe like a 150-year history, right? So I mean, of course, we are a much younger, and there's a lot of catching up to do. So because of which, also the thing is, India is a poor country. I mean, while we have 1.3 billion people, only 5 crore Indians have filed income tax returns, and only out of that 5 crores, some 2.5 crores have actually paid some income tax. Right? So we have a country where 2.5 crore Indians are paying taxes to run the country of 1.3 billion people, right? Of 133. So these are problems. That the way I think for our country to grow is, I think firstly we need to find a way to get the remaining 1.28 crore Indians to start earning more money, right? And which is a mega problem for this country, right? As in, how do you get more people earning enough money? Because if more people earn enough money, automatically they will look at investing, right? If the people don't have money, how will they invest? And it's almost it's impossible to do, right? So I think that's a bigger problem. I don't know if there's really any answer, because as the world is getting more automated, it's becoming more efficient. Kind of jobs that were being created in India, I think there'll be lesser of it created in the future. Right? Personally, I think all those things. I think the hope for India is actually getting back to agriculture. Become like this food capital of the world or something. Because otherwise, I don't know how you'll really create employment for so many people. But yeah, comparing to the US is almost like comparing apples to watermelons. It's not even oranges. So, so
both
we
are
have
great
a
fruits.
long way.
Well, sticking with the topic, you brought up agriculture and I guess giving employment. On this topic, does RainMatter, as as you're calling it, also has I've read recently that you guys have started making investments into land, afforestation, and
Right.
other such bets. Is that part of the core RainMatter Fund of Zerodha, or this is something completely different? And what is the goal of this? Um, I'm super
Yeah,
curious
no,
because it's a
yeah,
very
yeah, sure.
millennial thought process.
No. See, the thing is, I think there is. When I started my life career, I thought getting to a rupee number is gonna, suddenly make you feel satisfied. I've gone multi-folds over that number that I first started my life with, and it, above a certain number, money makes no difference, right? And then now you're actually seeing. Now that you are one of those few lucky ones who are able to reach this rupee number, how do you create more impact in life? And one of the reasons for me to be thinking like this is also thanks to Kailash, who's our the CTO, the K. He's been like he's almost like an idealist, and over the last 3-4 years we've been continuously saying, how do you give back to this country, right? And we are in a place, thanks to the structure of the business, where we can give back again. We can maybe do, because today what happens is when companies do CSR, etc., right? The way they measure the impact is it's almost like VC funding. So more money goes to large NGOs, and a lot of grassroots ones don't really get as much funding, right? And also, like personally, I've been very passionate about trees, and like my mom used to do landscaping for a bit, so I used to, she had a flower shop for a bit, so I've been involved with her in some forms. So I've been generally passionate about trees, etc. So, like I said, right, one of the ways. Firstly, we need to realize that capitalism is killing the planet, right? Doesn't make sense. This whole constant need to consume, which means produce more, which means the planet is going to get destroyed. It's a given, right? It's happening really fast. So climate change is a real problem, probably the biggest problem. And like the way we are all reacting to COVID, I think we should ideally be also reacting to climate change the same way, right? Because you will have a vaccine soon for COVID, but I don't think there's going to be any vaccine for climate change once we have pushed it, or probably we've already pushed it beyond its limit, right? So one of the ideas that we've had there is that maybe a solution for India's problems, one of the smaller solutions is, can you grow food forest, natural food forest, which can generate some income for people, with land, and also take care of the, I think at the end of the day, right, what do people need, right? Shelter, food and shelter are the most basic needs of life, right? As in, can you somehow cover for all of that? So that's something that we are extremely passionate about. And so we're calling it RainMatter Climate. And we have allocated, the plan is to allocate most of our personal net worths and what company is making into this. Because, of course, keeping aside whatever is required for our lifestyles. Is to kind of use this initiative to, one, invest into startups who are working on climate change, trying to make a difference, because there is no monetization of these climate change startups today, right? And so that's why they are also finding it tough to raise money. Uh, so, uh, so firstly that. Second is actually go out and support grassroots organizations. People who are actually working on ground zero and trying to work in villages and get farmers to kind of look at sustainable ways of growing agriculture than just to monoculture and use fertilizers and all of that. So that's something that we're passionate about, and I'm super excited about it as well.
No, that's super exciting. I think very few, entrepreneurs, when they reach, certain amount of wealth, think about, philanthropy. I don't know where I was reading this. Philanthropy in India is like probably the worst as a number across the world for folks who have the money to give away, and for things that could actually make an impact. And what was very interesting to me when reading that news was, like you said, there's no difference in the money, after a certain point, right? Like, what do you do with it? You can get your 10th house in London or somewhere else, right? But it's not going to change your life per se. But just putting that aside and seeing how it could actually compound, and like I would say, isn't that some of the basic tenets of having this life that they're given? And wouldn't more people want to do that? Which is surprising. Which is not
No,
something
I
that
mean,
comes.
see, the thing is, I think, I'll tell you what, okay, I think what I've realized is that even giving back is extremely tough, right? Like, like, say tomorrow you have a lot of money and you want to give back. How do you decide who do you give back to money, right? Like, because the problem with doing this giving back, right, there is a lot of trust deficit, right? Because you're actually giving away your money to someone and saying that, dude, you can go and use this for betterment of planet, right? And suddenly there is a deficit in terms of how do you trust this guy that he will go and do it? As in, it's extremely tough. I mean, like, I think giving back is so much more tougher than making it, because I've like, my personal thing. So what the reason we got our hands dirty and we said that we have to do this, like as if we are actually running a business, is because that's when you can actually get over the trust deficit. Otherwise, it's very tough to just trust the money. Like, suddenly, if say a business makes X amount of money and they decide, say, 10% of the X they will gonna give back, you have to now pick up these 10 people to give back this money to, right? As in, that's extremely tough, because when you invest into a company, you can look at the ROI in terms of returns, in terms of revenue, in terms of whatever. The problem with when you're doing this kind of an activity is your returns, is in terms of impact, which is very tough to measure, right? And it can potentially take long periods of time before, say, for example, say you funded this person who says, I'm going to build a food forest, right? It's going to take 10, 15 years before you see the food forest, right?
Yeah.
So it's
actually working.
Yeah, it's I think there is an opportunity there as well, is that there is an opportunity for making it easier to giving it back to the planet, or to CSR, etc. Because if you make it easier, I think there'll be more people doing it, because a lot of friends that I know who've done well in life, they want to give back, but they don't really know how to give back as well. So it's no, I mean, I think it's not. I don't know if it's right to say that Indian businesses or promoters aren't doing it. I know a lot of folks who have intent. A lot of folks are doing it, but it is a big challenge giving back as well.
Nithin, this has been awesome. I've learned so much about the other aspects of Nithin that you typically wouldn't hear, in I guess regular PR stories. Do you still trade?
No, I don't. I mean, I trade to test the platform, but I don't think I've taken a trade where I'm bothered about the what is the impact of the trade for a long time. I mean, you can consider all these investments that we have done through RainMatter in a way is a form of a trade, but no, I think. But a lot of people don't understand this. I usually say this: I don't trade actively, but Zerodha is the biggest trade of my life. So it's so
you're definitely in the positive. It's a multi-bagger.
Yeah, it's one of those
multi.
lucky multi-bagger trades.
What's next for Zerodha from here?
So, I mean, of course, we intend to continue making the product better. Um, the like one of the angles that I said is, uh, which we are trying to solve for in the future is helping people do the right things. Until now we were trying to educate people. Now we are trying to see if we can use the platform to nudge people from doing mistakes, right? Say, so we already have one such nudge. So, for example, if you're trying to buy a penny stock at Zerodha, we nudge you away from it. We say it's a penny stock, boss. You can lose a lot of money. Don't buy this, right? So we intend to but then you can override that nudge. It's not that we still let you go through the nudge. It's almost like a really soft nudge to tell you that this is a mistake. So we intend to do more of that. Is to say, kind of let people know when they're doing mistakes that it's a mistake, because a lot of people don't even know it, right? And we have a loan against securities business that will be live soon with.
Okay.
And we're trying to. It's been at work for a while, but we hope to allow Indians to invest into U.S. stocks, international stocks as well. So yeah, so these are some of the things.
Why is that sexy? I've seen a few of those startups come up now. I think Stockel, Vested, bunch of new players. In a way, it's nice because you get to invest in a company that you wouldn't typically get invested in. All the SaaS businesses that you currently use, be it a Microsoft or a Atlassian or Uber. Is this what customers want?
No, I mean, so the thing is, stock markets around the world have expanded when consumers have had access to companies who build products that people use. For example, in the US, if you see the markets, the reason for it to expand over the last 1-2 years is a FANG stock, which is Facebook, Apple, Netflix, Google, etc. And Tesla now, right? So it's because people admire these products, they also want to own shares of that companies. And the challenge in India has been that, apart from Royal Enfield, right? If you were to ask a 20 to 30-year-old in this country, apart from an Enfield, I don't think there's any other brand that you aspire to own, which is trading on the Indian markets. You don't aspire to own, say Infosys or HDFC. It's not very cool and sexy for a millennial, right? If I had an access to own, say, Ola, because Ola I love as a brand, or Swiggy, right? I would have definitely, as a 20 to 30-year-old, the chance of buying that is much higher than buying something else, right? So the bet is that, but the problem is, India has made it extremely tough for money to be sent outside the country, right?
Right.
So the cost of sending money is quite high, and you lose a lot of money in the spread itself when you're sending it.
Right.
So you're
already down 4%, 5% just to remit money. You've already the bank charges you a spread, right? And you have to fill a few hundred forms and prove why you're sending this money.
Yeah, all of that. They've made it extremely tough. Our country needs money. I don't think our country can afford to send a lot of money out. So I guess it's a problem as well. Those are the roadblocks because of which I think a lot of guys who are offering it in India haven't really been successful at it yet. Because sending money out is tough. And this year, I don't know if you've seen during the budget, they introduced a tax deduction on source of 5%. So you have to pay a tax just to send money out.
Wow.
So if you're emitting more than $10,000 a year, you have to pay a 5% tax on it on source, and then you can recover it. You can reclaim it. But the fact is that when your money goes, it goes 5% less. That's apart from the currency spread. So these are the challenges for that.
Are you guys hiring? You guys are on a bull run as well at Zerodha. So what are you hiring
for? The thing is, no, we are not. We are not actually hiring. So we are going slow on it because we are all been working from home for the last 5-6 months, and like I said, right, a lot of efficiency has got built in over the last 5-6 months. A lot of those processes which we had human solving for, we have machine solving for today, and So which meant that people who were there from before, workload reduced for them, so they're doing other things. So we haven't really needed to hire aggressively. I mean, of course, there's a 5-10% jump in people, etc. But we're not like going out and hiring hundreds of or thousands of people. That's, I mean, I like I said, even though our business has done so well in the interim, the fact that the need to hire more isn't there kind of shows this whole new world, which is a lot more efficient, and that's, I think that's where all of us have to constantly keep upskilling ourselves just to make sure we are more relevant in this new world. Otherwise, you can just suddenly become redundant without even knowing.
For sure. Hey Nithin, this has been awesome. Thanks for sharing the story and the cool things. Keep continuing to do the great work. I'm sure we'll all be tracking what you guys are up to and staying informed.
Cheers.
Hey guys, if you liked this conversation with Nithin, please subscribe to our channel and stay tuned for a lot more amazing entrepreneurs just like Nithin right here on the Stars and Startups podcast. Before we get that, what's on the wall to your side? What is it that you have framed so many?
But these are those old share certificates, all these old companies which trading shares still do certificates, so yeah, these are some of these certificates.
Why is it not framed?
Like no, it's got a story to it. Each certificate has a story to it, and like I have a Reuters wire from 1920s. But I think like this, it almost looks like it's some school or college.
Diploma. Diploma. Look how much shit I have gone through, right? Like,
oh my god, let me change this angle.
No, this is great.
Huh? This is great. No, I mean, I don't want people. I didn't realize that someone would be thinking like that. I have Messi on the other side, so it's.
I thought you preferred NBA. Is that a signed jersey?
Yeah, that's a signed jersey. Soccer as well, so it's.